Hi, I'm Shelly Winters. I was the women's basketball coach here at NHGI from 2000 until 2011, and I was also the women's volleyball coach, assistant coach from 2008 until 2014.
My name is Ben Hill, and I was the assistant women's basketball coach for 5 years. I started Shelly's second year in 02-03 and was here for 5 years after that.
So a funny story, when I first came here was as the assistant coach. Worked with Coach Hogan, he said, hey, do you want to be an assistant coach? I know you played in college. Great, I'll have a little bit of fun. I can play basketball with the kids. And then lo and behold, went through one season, one semester, and then we came back in the winter and we didn't have a team, we didn't have a program, we didn't have the numbers. And I was offered the job of head coach. So I was very young, didn't know what to do, so I put on my sweater vest, put on my sweaters, and I went everywhere north of Concord. I went to every Class M school, every Class S school, lived in Fulton State for the tournaments, ate hot dogs like they were going out of business, and ended up recruiting 5 Class S and M all-state players. And so my first year had tremendous luck, tremendous players, and we actually went to nationals the first year. So a great group of players, Stormy Wilson, Tasha Isabel, Nikki Peranto, Liz Sampson, just superstars in the North Country of New Hampshire to basically rejuvenate NHGI women's basketball. So it was a good start to a long career here. And then I think you came along in the second year.
Yeah, in year 2. I guess when I think back about the program, I was grateful for the opportunity, and what I really appreciate thinking back is the family feel of the program. And that, of course, starts with the godfather, Coach Hogan, but bringing us in and just making us feel like it was a family here. And the kids were so fun. We were lucky. Every year I was here, great kids that played hard and could compete, but at the highest level, but we still had fun all the time. And so that's one of the things I definitely remember. Certainly our road trips and team bonding, team feeds and stuff. Coach Winters will have a few things to say about what she did at my house. And
Absolutely. It's okay. It's still standing though.
Right? True. But I certainly remember those things. Recruiting was a challenge, and I think in our time together, we took it from trying to rejuvenate the program to, okay, how do we make a program that can compete throughout our conference in the region, and then we were headed to nationals every year for 6 years straight. So we started looking south at some of the bigger schools, Concord right in our backyard, and some of the Division I schools in New Hampshire. And I think ultimately that allowed us to compete at a higher level.
I think what we did is no one recruited in New Hampshire. New Hampshire wasn't thought of as a hotbed for women's basketball. I grew up and played here in Franklin, played Division I, but there wasn't a big recruiting channel. Fulton State didn't come to a lot of local games, and we hit every high school that we could. Yeah. We were out there 4 or 5 nights a week, in between, after practices, after games, weekends, whatever we could do. We were out there in full force because there are female student athletes in New Hampshire that are great basketball players that want to continue their education and continue to play athletics. And I think we were out there to give them the opportunity and let them know NHGI was going to be that home for them. Yeah. So yeah, we had a lot of great success in recruiting, a lot of great players. I mean, we could probably volley and go back and forth with some names. Again, from my first year, we didn't have the opportunity to coach, but Stormy Wilson from Mascoma, 5'8", played like a monster, double, triple teamed from the start. She had a 41-point game, a 23-rebound game, averaged 19 and 15 for a freshman season, just a tremendous athlete. So that'd probably be the first one that I encountered here. Yeah. And I think when you came in, we got lucky, and we probably have a lot of stories, but we won't tell them about a young girl named Melissa Gravilla. Yeah. Just a lucky find that we had. Didn't look like a basketball player, didn't look like she'd pan out to be much, seemed like a really nice kid, very energetic, but she turned into quite a basketball player.
Yeah, I would say she was really a leader on our team.
Absolutely.
Early in my days, I remember a couple dynamic duos from the beginning. Tasha Isabel and Liz Sampson, certainly when I got here, were my welcome to the program, and in their own humorous way. And but both played hard. There was a good shooter and a good scorer. And then I certainly remember Kathy Geddes and Missy Harris from Franklin.
Absolutely.
They were always together. And Kathy was tough. Played the point guard, and we didn't really have a point guard, and accepted that responsibility willingly. And then Missy had a nice little soft shot for a post player who could step out and also hit the 15-footer. So that's the start.
Yeah, we had some Groveton. We had North Country kids loved NHGI. We had some Groveton connections. I think we had Allison Hickey and Chrissy Collins played together for a year. We had some Littleton kids come in. Liz was the White Mountain kid. Then we had, I'll call it Ben's Find. We had a Pembroke girl join our team who was a great player, Brandy Rollins. So she was a big pickup and a big surprise to me because I wasn't familiar with her game before she came here.
Yeah, so I was familiar with Brandy from my days at Pembroke, and I was a Pembroke Academy graduate actually, and had coached for 1 year there with Brandy, and she actually joined us second semester, I think, in the 03-04 year, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
And so she, Melissa, and Liz really bonded and kind of had this 15, 21, 22 connection. They called it, that was their numbers, but Brandy was a great shooter and a good defender, and Melissa was a great leader and scorer inside, and Liz was also could take the ball to dribble and score. So I remember actually going to Central Maine with that group in 03-04, I think, and
it was a good year.
we got up there, and Central Maine's not the most welcoming place to play all the time, and in a good way, you know, it was a good rivalry, and they had a good team back then with several good players, and so we went up there with a team that probably wasn't expected to beat them, but I remember their fans came down onto the floor around the baseline. They were called courtside, and no officials on the floor yet, so the officials do come out, and we asked them about moving fans off the court side, and then they had thunder sticks and everything. They were slamming on the play right next to the players as they were warming up, and so the official walks across the floor to Coach Gagne, right?
Yes.
He's also the athletic director at Central Maine, and he comes back across the floor and he says, Coach Gagne says those rules aren't enforced in this league. So it was interesting, but it really tough. It was a moment. I think it was a moment for our players in our program where the girls came over and we just kind of said, listen, it's the 9 of us against everybody in this gym tonight. We're not going to get a break, but we just need you to stick together on the floor, communicate, and know that we can do this. And sure enough, they pulled out a huge upset win, which was in my time here, a big win for our program.
That was a big one. That was a great team. I think we finished 19-3. We went to nationals up in Maine. Brandy, that Ben spoke about, she hit 6 threes in one of our games, was great. But I got to go with my Brandy Rollins moment while we're on that era. Here at NHGI, end of the game against CMC, big rival. You got big Ashley Sweat, a great player for CMC, driving to the hoop. Brandy steps up on the baseline. I can picture it now, right outside the locker rooms. Steps up, left baseline, just outside the key, boom, takes a charge against Ashley Sweat, and HGI wins the game. So that's as great a shooter as she was, that defensive play is my Brandy Rollins moment that will be in my brain forever. And again, that year we had academic All-Americans, we had Melissa Gravilla, was NHGI's first ever men's or women's first team All-American. So that was just a great year, and they just kept it moving and kept it going. Winning championship after championship. We went to nationals, as Ben said, or got invited 6 straight years. Started bringing in, different players. Kristen Peak era came in next, I think. We had Catherine Little from Concord was with us for a year. It's another great player to join our program. I think we also had Kathy Murphy, Sarah McKean, Tyler Gray were kind of next to follow in that era. They also gave another dynamic duo, gave Coach Hill and Coach Winters a run for their money. Sarah McKean had a look that could kill almost anybody, and she knew how to use it. Murph was the queen of the up and under move, so some quick moves and could fool you with her basketball prowess and her basketball smart. So she was another great one that I think delayed in coming here and panned out so well for her. She was a great addition to this program.
Yeah. I really remember players like Murph and Ty DeLay who came in, and they were really undersized players, but rugged, strong down low. Some of our top rebounders that really made an impact on the program in that way that was probably exceeding what people would expect if they looked at them. And Catherine Little certainly had a great year in her year here, a local Concord player. And Lauren Daniels was a great story in my time here. I had spent quite a bit of time at Concord High trying to get just the girls in our backyard to consider coming to NHGI, and Lauren had decided to go to Keene her first year and then transferred back for kind of like a transition year here, but she was a great player. Just fundamentally, she had a lot of good skills in the post, but could also step out and hit the three. She was a zone buster for us against Central Maine. They couldn't play us in zone because she could step outside and just start hitting threes. And that was a great story because she went on to Plymouth State after that and for two solid years there. And I think really it was a good year for her to build her confidence and really understand how good of a player she could be.
And she was really the first athlete who would come in and then moved on somewhere else to show other kids that were recruiting and current student athletes that there was life, and you had years after NHGI to continue your career. We had many women who also chose to do that. The other great thing about Lauren is she came from a huge family. She was the oldest of 10 siblings, some
12, I think. Yeah.
12. So we did a fundraiser, a kids' night out, where we were basically glorified babysitters and running kids through activities. And you know, we had a handful of kids sign up, we had a gym half full, and all of a sudden we turn around and look, and there's every blonde Daniels in the city of Concord is here. We had basically Lauren's whole family was our fundraiser, so I'd like to thank the Daniels family for basically subsidizing that fundraiser. So, but and Lauren actually, full circle, came back and coached my last 2 years at NHGI. Lauren was one of my assistant coaches, so it was great to see that the program that helped catapult her or get her back on track, that she came and gave back to the program. So that was nice to see. So yeah, Ben and I had a lot of great years. We went to Maine, I think 3 years for nationals. We went to Oklahoma for 2 years for nationals. So Rima Bible College out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe, or Broken Arrow, as it was truly called. Very interesting experience, very interesting part of the country. We took some kids on planes who had never been on planes before. It was an experience, not just playing together and seeing them have a culmination of basically a season's hard work, and for some of them many years of hard work, but just the life experiencing, the bonding that they got to have, the ability to go out and travel and do things they'd never done before. I think that was just an amazing part of being here. Our regular games, you're on a road trip to Maine or Massachusetts or Vermont or wherever, and that's great. The van, you have, you know, songs, music, their phones, but I think those trips, even though we might have struggled out there on the competitiveness, just from a socialization standpoint and giving them opportunities, excuse me, that they hadn't had before, I think some great things came out of that.
Yeah, definitely great experience for the kids. Like you said, some of the kids, when they got to the NHGI, had never been out of New Hampshire, and they're getting on a plane to go to Oklahoma to play in a national tournament. So the competition was good out there, and you know, today I think they have Division I and Division II. Back then there was only one division for women, so we were playing against teams that gave out scholarships, I think, and you know, were much bigger than NHGI. But great experiences for the kids, and they played hard every time we went to nationals. They got some national recognition for several players. And, you know, Jen Roy, I don't think we talked about yet, but Jen Roy came in late in my time here, 04, 05 maybe, and really was somebody who could compete at that level. Strong player on the post, and what did she end up scoring?
Jen ended up with 1,397 points, so she had a total of 3 years, had a year off in between, but yeah, her freshman year that Ben alluded to, she was a freshman and she was honorable mention All-American, and then the other 2 seasons she played, she was first team All-American. So I would hazard to guess she probably is the highest scorer in NHGI women's basketball history with just under 1,400 points. Just not huge, but a physical presence, not afraid of anybody. It didn't matter how much bigger they were. She was a force to be reckoned with. She would use her body to get in the post. She would square up if she had to. She'd do some step-through moves, just really tough. Her dad was always there in the stands cheering her on. He went out to Oklahoma with us his second year, so Jen's dad went to Oklahoma the second year, and my dad went to Oklahoma. So we each had a buddy for our van trips to go out and support the team. So yeah, we had some fun experiences, and Jen Roy is certainly a great calling card of the type of athlete that NHGI can recruit, can get, and how they can dominate on this level, and how you can help build a team around, and a good team, a solid team, multiple all-conference selections, honorable mentions at the nationals. So we were never a single-focused team, but Jen was certainly a big part of our program for the 3 years that she was here. But again, we had some experiences out in Oklahoma those 2 years. We had a player from Alaska who was on our team, Melissa, I believe.
Chandler,
yeah. And we had these high hopes of this place we were going to go and visit, go see a beautiful river, go to this waterfront, and we got there and it was like a dry creek.
All dried up.
But Melissa still went out and walked the flats with probably Pam Pelchat, who was the other half of the minnow sandwich, as they called them. And
that's right.
Had a good time. I think Ben's got a story about our friend Tyler Gray out in Nationals.
Oh yes, I remember Tyler. I guess having a peak moment for her in her career, she's just lighting it up from 3 out at Nationals. The problem was it was during warm-ups, and she was jumping up and down every time after she dropped down to 3. So it was a funny experience for Tyler. So I walked down and I said, Tyler, just act like you do that all the time. Let's put some fear into the other team. So that was a funny moment for Tyler. That was, I think, 06, 07 though. That was maybe our best team. That was a great team, led by Jen Roy. I think we had Mandy Manifold, McKean, and Tyler Gray, I think were playing there, maybe Nikki Rennie and Britta Smith.
Britta Smith, we had Kristen Peak, Michelle Griffin, Ashley Layton, Laura or LeBlanc. That was a great team. Yeah, another team that went to nationals, but we went up. Finals were at Southern Maine, and we hadn't played them, I don't think, in the finals until that game on their home court. And close game, tough game. Called a couple timeouts at the end. I think we both probably gave some emotional pleas to the team, and we pulled it out. They were excited. We were excited. It was sort of an electrifying experience and sort of catapulted us over to nationals. So.
That team had gone undefeated through conference play. So we were undefeated going into the conference tournament, and then we stepped on the floor against Southern Maine in the finals of the tournament, and I think we were down 7 with like 5 minutes to go, and we called the timeout with about 3 minutes to go, and we were down 5 or 7, and I remember the huddle, like going over offense and defense, and then we just looked at each other and it was like, okay, both teams are exhausted. This is about who wants it more. You need to go out there and make the plays, and sure enough they did, and they just pulled through at the end. But so that was a great accomplishment, undefeated season through conference play and the tournament. So.
It's quite evident that we have a lot of stories we're probably going to need for our audience out there. We're going to need a part 2 of Ben and Shelly. So I'll quickly go over some of the years after Ben departed, and I was joined by Kurt was my assistant coach, and then we had Renee Zobel help me out, Lauren Daniels, Katie Stockton, so I had some former players coming in and helping us out. But we also had great players. We were unfortunately didn't go to nationals in that time frame because they had split up and started Division I, Division II. But had some great players that certainly came through, some hardworking players that I want to make sure I give some recognition to. One that stands out is Jess Hardiman, a local product, an MB kid. Wasn't highly recruited, came in here, low expectations based on athleticism, and every year she just got better and better. And I think she ended up staying here, playing for me 3 years, playing for 4, got her 1,000 points. There was some, Mariah Mahala played out of Epping. She was a 2-sport athlete, also played volleyball. We had Ashley Harris, Megan Pennick. She ended up going down, playing, I think, down at Wentworth. Janara Ladd, who was a Belmont product. The dynamic duo of Mo Herlihy and from Concord, her sidekick, I'm going to forget her name now, but I wrote it on a piece of paper and I'll find it eventually. Megan Dickey, so a lot of great players, worked hard, smaller team, smaller roster, but they just were blue-collar workers. Just Katie Fosher came in, Ben had recruited her, she was a nice addition. Just kids that worked hard day in, day out. We competed still within the conference. We were able to, with them, go on a trip to Pittsburgh. I have to put a plug in here. We were stuck in the airport for hours and hours on the way to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The kids came up with something called an animal game. I won't replicate it. I don't know how to do it. They seemed to be having fun, but apparently everybody else around us was annoyed after 4 hours of the animal game. So I think that was Kaylee Toll out of Dover who brought that game. I got my wrist slapped for that, so that's your fault, Kaylee. But yeah, a lot of good times. We went to a UConn women's basketball game my last year with the team. And for some reason, the young girls in the stands saw us all in our NHGI gear and thought they were some sort of superstars, and our kids were giving autographs out at halftime of that game. So that was just awesome to see little kids lining up to get NHGI women's athletes autographs. So again, they were student athletes. I know we ran out of time, but I really want to give credence to the fact that we had great student athletes who were here. They had to maintain their workload, practices. A lot of them had jobs, had family lives and commitments. They were in medical majors, they were dental, nursing, radiology tech, and a lot of other things, and they pulled their weight, and this was no small feat. We put a lot of time in, and we talked about that in the front end, but these kids, every single one of you, or every single one of them, just dedicated themselves day in and day out, and can't thank them enough. And again, I hope we get the opportunity so we can reminisce about our overlapped years, as well as sort of the part 2 of my basketball career here, post-Ben, to just really tell some more stories and give some credence to the places we traveled, the things we saw, the gyms we played in, the rivalries we had, the other great players that came through the program, so that everybody out there can appreciate what these student athletes gave, the legacy they left, and hopefully entice more people to come here and leave their own legacy on NHGI women's basketball.
Yeah, I think I can speak for Shelly in saying that we both think NHGI is a special place. It's a special place to come play, that family feel, and it was a great opportunity for both of us that we cherish very much. And I think, in closing, we continue to wish the teams of today, great success, and hopefully they're getting the same experience, probably even a better experience as athletics have grown here. But that same kind of family feel and a great life experience in addition to the athletic experience. So good luck to all the teams out there today as NHGI athletics community.
And before we cut, Ben will know what this means, but don't ever call a timeout if I don't know.